Hello, Army.
Hey.
Oh, Borge, welcome back. Welcome back. And we are live again with you. It is 8 p.m. EST, 5 p.m. PST over here. I'm looking out at the San Francisco Bay. It's so pretty. And from what we can understand, it is very possible the book is probably dropping now or at about this time. We are looking at, Terry and I are looking to see if it comes available on our Audibles because we both have Audible versions coming out. So we'll let you know if we get it. I am so excited. Okay, welcome everybody to Beyond the Story, Chapter 3. Ah, ah, this is going to be a tearjerker episode. Love, hate, army. And we are joined today. We are supposed to be joined by Aisha, who is coming from Malaysia, but I am not sure what's going on. She's not on at the moment. But if she does, hopefully we'll add her in. And we have our for the very first time, our lovely new army guest who is with us. And this is Tessa. Tessa, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Hello, Army. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nisha. Tessa Lashley. I'm fairly new to the fandom and to BTS as of, I'd say, last summer. So about a year. And got introduced to K-pop and BTS through my teenage daughter. And has made us closer and has drawn me into the love of the message and the boys themselves of BTS. So that's how I've become an army, and I've been trying to catch up and learning so much. I've really enjoyed meeting up with other army as well and going to some local activities, and very happy and honored to be able to be part of something like this. So thank you.
Yeah, I heard that you met Naomi over at one of the We Are Seven events last week.
Right.
The Festa event, I think it was.
Yeah, we went. I met her at the gala, and I went to a couple of cup sleeve events as well.
Oh, that's
That was
amazing.
so much fun. It was
And
really
shout out to our We Are Seven events fam who are hosting their cup sleeve event at a new place in Altamont Springs in Florida. Love them and love Magic Shop. Make sure to show them lots of support. Make sure to show BTS Family Association and friends lots of support. Make sure to show support for our lovely, lovely army from Army Mahalaga, which is our Spain army. And Tessa's coming to us from BTS Orlando Army. So we have, and then of course Terry's coming to us from BTS Minnesota Army. And I'm over here in the Bay Area, Baba area, but I'm also part of Orlando and then the global groups. So I just wanted to do that shout out because we have representation in our groups from just everywhere. And then of course we had Peru Army on as well. So much, it's awesome. I know it's a crazy time for everyone because everyone is probably at an Army Day event right now. I don't know what kind of coverage we're going to get. I don't know who's going to be viewing us live. So it was a risky thing to do a show during Army time. But we wanted to bring in the book together, so I'm excited. Okay, let's see now. We are ready to go. I think we actually have some people. Ooh, you'll bear with me. I'm going to do our opening. I will be right with you. Give me 1 second. And welcome to all of our army who are here for the first time. If this is your first time with us, we are Living Bangtan 7. And we are a subsidiary of the parent company called Diversely Geek. Hello, Army, and welcome back to Living Bangtan 7. Today we are talking about Chapter 3, representing, we think, roughly 2015 to 2016 of Beyond the Story, the anthology series book coming out in a matter of moments. The story of BTS in their own words, and finding out that there are 330 QR codes that will give us access to all kinds of goodies from their voice and videos and images. I think they wanted to saturate us so that we'd have enough to take care of us for an entire year, if not more. Can you imagine 330 pieces of content? And that's not even the 562 page book. That's insanity. What amazingness. So today we're talking about, probably this episode is probably one of the more emotional ones that we've had. I think I'm already crying because this episode is 2015 to 2016 and probably toggle into 2017. But these are what we're focusing on is from the Born Singer to Rules Broken Then Changed Run, a moment that comes once in a lifetime and yet another start. And this particular chapter, every single one of these key phrases was actually extremely embedded in the most beautiful moments in life saga, the Save Me saga, their milestones from I need you wins the music bank fire becoming a movement piece, Save Me completely becoming the impetus and the springboard for the webtoon, the short film, just a massive blow up in who BTS was to become because now they're themselves. So let's talk a little bit in a moment. Let's just do our opening. So as everyone knows, here at LB7, our entire model is a world building model, creating safe and cathartic spaces for Army and anyone who needs to hear the words that we're saying today. For anyone who didn't have anywhere else to turn today, a place for rest and respite is right here with your Army family. And Living Bangtan 7 is a platform that the DG team created to bring you wellness, discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of Bangtan Sonyadan. And as you know, the name means living bulletproof 24/7. And our purpose is to help us all learn how to live with confidence, with self love throughout our day, and protected by the support and love of BTS and Army. And remember that Living Bangtan 7 is a reminder of how the bulletproof or Bangtan philosophy has a way of becoming a strong source of healing for healthy coping and support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. So normally I would pay our reel here, and I think I will. I'm not quite sure what's going on. There's some issues with Facebook that happened at the last episode that I'm like, not sure what's going on here. We've never had any issues with playing our reel before. So I'll just play a few minutes of it and then we'll go straight into the show.
We are bulletproof.
And because we're the bulletproof philosophy, we've been using this tile and this reel for 6 months. It's never been a problem. It is literally the core of who we are as an organization. So what we are going to do right now is we're going to toggle in and start talking about the next show. We have 2 Army who may join us, not sure, but that's fine because as we're a pretty open book when it comes to the show. If people are able to get on, because connection is always an issue. So what we have planned for today is, as always, we're going to still continue to hype the gem called 7 by Jungkook. And the concept is 7 as 1 and 1 as 7 has been following us throughout the shows. I know that we're going to talk about it again today, and that Jungkook made that the name of his song tells us very much that this is a philosophy that is absolutely indelible to all of 7 members. We're going to continue to discuss the body of work of the BTS, Beyond the Story, and how it's a dialogue between us. And we're also going to talk about how the book can become a source of connection. And we're going to really focus on that with the last show at 11 p.m. And then, of course, we're launched our LB7 year-long project. But we are posting the link in every show. And then at the same time, it's going live on all of our social media sites. So, Terry, do you want to go ahead and read our opening right here? Terry, are we having a delay?
Just can't hear her.
Terry.
All right. Got it? Okay. All right. So sorry about that. When BTS debuted 10 years ago, no one could have predicted their journeys, both ups and downs. Now, we are in their solo periods, and for 5 members, entry into their military service time is impending.
That's right. So what are we going to with the next phase? Um, let's talk about the most beautiful moments in life, part one. Um, and what are some of the momentous moments in that time? Do you want to go ahead and read that next part for me, Terry?
Okay. It's the first time the vocal line was actually credited with writing and producing. It's also a springboard and almost a personal edict for their transition as a group, personally, emotionally, and philosophically.
Keep going.
Do we want to talk about the track descriptors?
Oh,
Okay.
so yeah, because what we've been doing is we've been toggling and focusing on the track descriptors. Because when I went back last night after everything, and I read them, I was like, you know what? They had to have physically, they're pulling words straight out of the track descriptors. If you were wondering where they were coming from, it's literally from their discography. And this morning we made this pretty profound uh, discovery. We were like, wait a minute. Proof is literally the musical version of the book. So what is wrong? How did my brain not get that? My brain, okay.
Well, because we were so happy to have proof and so happy to have the book, we didn't put them both together because we just keep taking all of these things that the boys are giving us, even though they keep saying they're on their solo careers, or they're not going to be doing as much stuff and all this other. There's so much to digest. We're just digesting it, and then after the fact, going, "Oh, wait, this goes with this, by the way."
This and this goes with this, but then you realize, well, what do you mean you realize? I was going to say you realize that they connect everything. I'm like, these kids have been connecting everything since the day they started. They're the most intuitively grounded group band I've seen in a very long time. So, and I've been around a long time.
But in our defense, we usually don't have, like, we got JK's single dropping along with the book almost simultaneously. And then we've got, Festa and Army Day. So it's like, which thing do you pick to spend more than 5 minutes trying to?
I know. And then there's so many Army Day events going on because it's our 10th anniversary, just like anyone else's, July 9th was the day that they officially launched ARMY, adorable representatives, MCs for youth, which they later, which is actually really relevant to the timeline we're talking about, because in Most Beautiful Moments in Life was their, I think, core of that concept, where we're looking at them recognizing that as youth they had to move along, because I know you watched the last show where they had to really find a grounding in who they were, what their self-belief was, right? And they had to find it at such an early stage. It was always crazy to me that Jungkook was 13. This is a 13 and 14-year-old who's being asked to be the lead vocalist for this group, and a lead vocalist out of 4 vocalists, none of whom had sang before. It's just an insane concept, because it wasn't done in the industry at that time. And remember, he talked about how that overwhelmed him at one point. So let's jump in a little bit and tell me when it comes live. So do you want to do the descriptor? It's a big one, Terry. You ready?
Okay.
Go ahead.
In each track are distilled poetic and pop emotions that allows the listeners to sense both the soft and the resounding musical transformation of the group. BTS has chosen the theme of the most beautiful moment in life, the start of one's young adulthood, in which beauty coexists with uncertainty. The most beautiful moment in life 1 focuses on the uncertain future more than the glamour of youth. This is the part where BTS, starting to be recognized by the world with the help of digital technology in general, and ARMY specifically, can consume most of BTS digital media content easily. At the same time, in order to avoid all the negativity that they received during their early years with all the mistreatment Their idea is to keep on going and do whatever they want to put them in their own place. Not only focus on musical content, their strategies to produce non-musical content also became one of the factors that made them become hugely popular. Obviously, they want their fans to know them through their music and performance. But at the same time, if we look closely, some of the fans starting to know them through their non-musical content, such as Run BTS, In the Soup, and Bon Voyage.
Mhm.
This has become the opportunity for the fans to not only know BTS, but also to learn Korean culture indirectly. So I can see that this is a safe place for BTS to show their true self without the involvement from the third party, and also an opportunity for BTS and ARMY to become close and respect each other. Yes, this is their most beautiful moment in life, indirectly.
So that last part, what was written by Aisha. Aisha,
Mhm.
if she's able to make it on here, is actually a digital content specialist. She's got her doctorate degree in teaching how digital content has a very strong impact and influence when used the correct way. And her paper, which she was going to share today, was actually about the BTS and the Bangtan digital content. So what we wrote, what that last part that you wrote was about how, what you read was about how she felt that in her philosophy, how their strategies to produce non-musical content also became one of the factors that made them hugely popular. That's 100%, 1,000% correct. So,
Mhm.
being, for instance, with you, Tessa, being a new army, um, you, how do you feel going back and looking at content from 2015 and 2016? For instance, the Save Me film, the Save Me era film, short films. Have you had a
Right.
chance to see those?
I've seen some bits of pieces of everything, but mostly like the Run BTS and some of the BTS Bomb contents. But it's absolutely right. Outside of the music and the music industry, and their performances on stage, you
Yeah.
really get the personal touches of their interactions with each other,
Yeah.
a more playful side of them, and them sort of just more in a more natural environment and how they would react and doing games and stuff. So I think that was a big part too of a more of an insight into who they were and the slight differences in their personalities,
Mhm.
and but then also how they worked as a group. I would really agree with that, and it's almost just as much as the music and the performances and everything and the message, but to see them in real life, sort of like as they're growing as well too.
I feel like one of the most when you get to know me, you'll know I talk a lot about the Wings era, but also the, which indelibly then becomes attached to the Save Me short films, the Save Me book, webtoon, the Save Me era, and then the Bangtan universe, because there's an entire set of short films in
So
that little microcosm of the
so many. Oh my goodness, I'll never catch up, but that's okay.
right. And now they're they
You
have
have
a
8 months.
now they have a film called For Youth coming out, which is actually based on that Bangtan universe. So I'm gonna take it trepidatiously because my boys, but they just debuted at the Korean cultural event, I think, in Paris recently, that film's coming out. That's how strong of a cultural impact
Right.
story had, that it's become a representation of a whole culture, a
Right.
subculture, and then a global culture.
It's beautiful. I mean, you look at the food and the music. They're always eating as well, and they're cooking. They're incorporating so many, and the places that they visit, and the tourism and everything that draws in. You just want to follow their journeys, the
Yeah.
experiences that they have. It's beautiful. So that's just part of them as well.
I think that when you look at the, as an educator, because of what you do, and working with the youth population, you can when you're looking at 2015 to 2016, we're looking at those 2 years. Those are formative years in
Right.
in anyone's life. At that age, I believe Jungkook would have been, if I'm not mistaken, he was 16, 17,
Right.
because the age difference from the Korean
Mhm.
versus the global. And then we have Jin at 21, 22.
Right.
That's a massive formative stage for them, where they're still trying to find out what identity is. All of them were sitting in the middle of concretization and identity formation. All
Right.
of them, 7.
Absolutely. Right. And we're getting I know we're getting into the born singer element. There's so much, in terms of the identity and the growth through that I kind of want to be able to speak to them too. But yes, it's such a fascinating process to see them grow, right before our eyes as they're doing it. But in terms of the youth too, the so many different fun elements and games and so much material that was available to the youth also at that time, and made it they could identify with them a little bit more outside of just the music and the music industry, that they could sort of identify and follow along and enjoy what was being put out there.
I think that the boys, so that the members making a decision that, as I Need You was when they, so here is where they toggled between that 2012 to 2014, where they were still forming who they were and what their voice was and what their name was, but they were always about a state. I hate to use the word rebellion. It is, they used it, they used it themselves, but they were in a state of challenging what was the social norm already, and we talked about that last time. So now we're challenging the social norm, but we did it with softness. We did it with gentleness, and we did it with love. As a mental health professional working in that population, that's incredible choice to have made at their age.
Right. Yes, but as it can, well, you talk about this in the last session too. You look at the video of when they came first out, and how they had to dress and how they presented themselves, and at the age of if you guys know best, but it sort of evolved a little bit more when you look at something also like Run. You look at the music video of Run 2, which I know we will get to. We will get there. I mean, there's a lot of that rebellion and the risk taking and everything there. That's just, it's typical, teen development and adolescent, getting into from a child to a man, that experience. It's there. So they're not hiding it. They're real. Mm-hmm. That helps connect the youth with what they also show with their songs and the lyrics and the music videos.
So exactly. I love it. I knew this conversation was going to be incredible. Aisha's trying to get on. She had a technical issue. So let's go. And we're going to hold on to that. So Beyond the Story for me is a love letter. But then there was a point at which after, it's really weird, but after Map of the Soul, I went back and I realized that everything that was the story written from 2015 to 17 was this massive love letter that they were writing to us and themselves. Because in Forever Young and the Best Moments of Life, they were also talking to themselves as youth, So, So with Born Singer being at the beginning of that, it was them being able to say, bearing in mind they'd written it way before now, but they couldn't actually sing it till this time when they sang it for the muster. We're looking at, you and I talked a lot about how Born Singer gives us a space, gave them a space to be able to of self-expression, but it wasn't just self-confidence. I thought it was a valuation of who they were, self-value beyond all things, and an act. So let's talk a little bit about. So we're going to go into Word Singer. So let me just read these 3 parts here. Okay. So Love, Hate, Army, Chapter 3 of Beyond the Story, 2014 to 2016, because we're toggling mainly 2015 to 16. So for me, I'm going to say this. It seems like it will be a retelling of some of the most painful moments of their life and career as they fought and how they had to find a way to let go of hate, holding on to love because that is who they are. They're inherently love, and how they learned how there was a mutual symbiotic reliance between Army and them for support, strength, and inspiration. And the fact that happened so early on, I would say from 2013, pretty early, as a matter of fact, that we had that relationship. So, Tara, you want to read the next one?
Their story is one of perseverance. Army played a major role in their ability to keep going through the love they had experienced from Army and through the hate they received from so many. I also think this chapter deals with their own struggle to make their way, the ups and downs that can be transferred into love and hate, or translated into love and hate.
Right. And we said also before that we're talking about hate as a symbol, not as an actual full manifestation, because we don't want to focus on that, right?
Mhm.
It's just a symbol of probably some of the crushing negativity that they have to deal with.
Right.
So in this era, so sorry about that, because we had two of our guests not able to make it today. So we're trying to help them out by toggling onto the things that they've written. So do you want to read that next one for us, Tessa? In this era?
Mhm. This would be
That's okay. I got it. It's
in
no
this
problem.
era. No, okay.
Got it. Okay.
Army grew trifold. They became a global phenomenon. The genuine dynamic of symbiotic love between Army and Bangtan became a strong force for their growth and our connection to them at the same time as the glue that brought a global fandom together. Mhm.
So let's look at when Born Singer came out and they sang that song the way that we talked about them singing on that stage.
Mhm.
Uh, there are many anthems that I talk about BTS having, and Born Singer is one of those, just as much as No and Not Today ended up being. What do you think about that song being glue and a connector across 7 years? 7 years
Right.
later.
I just think of, and we spoke about it, but I was so, I shared a little bit of video. I look back at them when they were first sort of preparing it and they were joking about it and performing it, thinking about what the experience was like for them at that time versus their most recent live, presentation of it that they did. And, I'm looking in at the lyrics and as I speak also, a new Army, but I'm also thinking of, say, like someone who doesn't know everything about BTS or their stories, but just looking at the words and the lyrics for the first time, how they feel about it, how they would connect, and the difference of the story from RM, and the difference of Sugar in terms of his identity as a born singer, saying he's always been like this, he hasn't changed, he's still rapper man, and then RM, sort of coming from, he left the academic world behind, and he actually said in there that he was not sure or confident at first, but he presented himself. And then there was J Hope too. So even when you think of Born Singer, just the title itself, you think of you're born as this or you're born as that, sort of like your identity and who you're meant to be. You think of when they started and where they are now, and I just see it at that state of what I termed as that constant state of becoming and growing, and the belief in themselves and the belief in what it even meant to be that for them. I really connected with that song.
Mhm.
And as I said, I love how they did those initial performances where as a group they would be as a circle facing inward, and they would at first sing the songs to each other. And I know Jim and other made other comments that it was so moving for them because it was more of like a group testimony and a group support for each other as they expressed it. And then in the end they would turn around and face the audience. So it's like they're supporting each other and then sort of presenting themselves as, this is who we are, this is who we want to be, and we were born for this. And it's just fascinating. It's a beautiful experience. It's a beautiful song.
It's a beautiful concept to know that. No, I'm so sorry, Terry. Didn't mean to jump on you. You want to
Oh,
say
no, you
something?
didn't. Nope.
Okay. Again, I keep going back to the age that they were. Their maturity is beyond most. I don't tend to use equate maturity with age at all. Maturity comes with experience and time, and the mind, and the emotional growth and emotional awareness and paradigm. And for them, they were thrust into a paradigm that was an extremely harsh and toxic one at a very, very early age. And Born Singer, what they showed us when they faced each other in those moments is that the most beautiful moments in our life is going to be when we face each other and we stand tall together as ourselves. And one of the things I have to say about Save Me being a 360 live filmed music video where they're literally in full movement the entire time and the camera is going around them and they're moving around the camera. It has almost the same feel to me. Trust that they have to have,
Yeah.
the confident trust they have to have in each other to know where they're going to always be, and that they're always going to be in the place that they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not, it's okay because they'll just laugh and then they'll try it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible concept. It's not that they needed their backs to be the army, not at all.
No, it's not
The support of army was always, 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 and at that point in 2015, it was the thing that kept them going. But like you said, it's showing the world. I just think that they did nothing but show us by example constantly
Right.
of how to handle these kind of toxic moments in life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Born Singer is a beautiful example. And then we're going to go into Run, how Run then takes the story and continues it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're expressing the words of Born Singer. Look, I was born to do this. The toxicity you're leveling at me, I'm not holding on to that.
Right.
I know who I am and I know who I'm meant to be. Maybe I don't know it perfectly and I know I'm going to grow and become better at it. Run, they're saying, I mean, what is your understanding of Run? And then Terry, jump in.
Right. Oh, okay, go
Okay,
for it. Okay. Yeah. So with Run, and I'm also very visual. I like the words, but I always like to see how they choose to visually present the message as well too in their concepts and in the music videos. So with Run, you see them all, literally running through all these different type of settings, and you're representatives of their different journeys or their different experiences. But of course, they always come together. They always do, and then they continue that journey, together. And you're absolutely right. It moves away from the uncertainty and trying to figure out and present themselves as born singers and who they are as a group and what they want to present, and then sort of just running forward with it, just like youth. You're trying to figure things out. You just go with it. You have the energy. You make mistakes along the way. You fall, you trip, you get hurt, but you get up. You don't give up. You keep moving. It's a really powerful message of persistence and growth, and just self-discovery and being gentle with yourself as you move forward. Being gentle. Yeah.
I think that there are two moments in the Run music video. One, of course, in between the "I Need You" and, of course, the Run music video, the scenes with water and
Right.
the immersion in water and how that carries throughout the short film series of the most beautiful moments in life. Where we're constantly seeing them immersed in water. Taeyong is coming and moving between being immersed and not immersed. Hello, Aisha.
Hi,
Yay.
technical issue. Oh my
Hi,
god.
no. It's been all day. Everybody's been having it. Not even a worries. Not a worries whatsoever. Okay. So hi everyone. This is Aisha, who's coming to us from Malaysia. You want to just say hi and let everybody know who you are?
Hi, I'm Aisha from Malaysia. Okay, it's good weather here. I'm a lecturer, senior lecturer in University Putra Malaysia, and I'm doing research on BTS since 2 years back. So yeah, I'm very glad to have that for inviting here to be invited here.
We read your statement on digital content because it was going in the story, but we can always go back to it if that's okay.
It's okay.
Right now we're talking about the transition and flow between having from Born Singer. Now we're in Run, and we're looking how Run and the Wings era and the Save Me, the most beautiful moments of life, how the films are talking about an impetus and transition and change in their self-awareness and their I think I use the word self-value, but I keep thinking there's another word I want to use. I just have to I'll get it. It'll come to me. So in terms of Run and we see JK and we see them fighting. We see them going through real life moments in the videos between "I Need You" all the way through that one, and in the entire series, the Save Me webtoon series, have you read it by chance? Has anyone read it? The Save Me? No. It's okay. It's okay. When you get a chance, I would actually read it because it's actually very emotional. It's a high level of emotional, And they made a choice to have Jin be the person who's going through this massive struggle to be able to save all 7 of them. And it made a lot of sense because of his role as the eldest and his holding them together and being their vocal support. So when we're looking at making a choice in the short films at Aisha, remember we've talked about, I think it's been a long time since we chatted, but the short films were a revelation. You know, they were a massive shift in terms of how the genre, nobody was doing anything like that at the time. And you were saying, yeah. So how do you think that had? I mean, because I read what you said, how connected that was, and how that actually helped Army to be able to connect to themselves a little. So you want to talk about that?
Okay, so basically, I think, run. There's a where in the lyrics it say we will run whenever we have to, right? So I like to use that quote because I believe that even me myself, okay, during our young self, okay, we will like try to identify what is our identity. Okay, so we try to use any source or any reference that we want. So now the moments we go older, mature, we realize that nobody can stop us. It's us that can run. You just run and achieve your dreams. And I believe that's how BTS use the music to encourage and to share their stories to people out there, especially armies that haters or whoever cannot stop them because they're going to run and do whatever that they want.
So they're talking about love here, and if I remember correctly, the love that they're talking about is self love at this moment. It wasn't only a romantic love at all, although it was easy to interpret it in that way. Um, he's talking about, they talk about destiny and how pitiful it can be and how destiny points its finger at them, but they still have to run from that destiny sometimes because the things that they think that they're destined to have can't always have them. Um, so what do you, I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at, yeah, go ahead if anyone wants to talk about that. For especially for a youth, but for them in those moments, their concept of destiny is very, I would say, I don't think it's fragmented. I think it's very fluid at this point, right? Because it's allowing for motion, it's allowing for change and transition.
Well, and that's kind of like the word run.
Okay, can I add
when I
more?
first heard it,
Especially, okay.
Go ahead, Terry.
I would say
The technical issue. I'm running over here. my face are not in.
It's okay. It's okay because it's timing out a little bit. So hang on.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna let Terry speak and then I'll get you back. 1 second. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay. I was just going to say for like run, that's something that kids will say when they think they're going to be in trouble. It's like run. And there's nothing followed by it other than the movement of getting away from whatever you're doing. And I don't see that in run. They're using the word run, but they're not saying to run from or necessarily to run to. It's just like more of like a stop, run, and then you reevaluate where you're at with stuff. And then you decide, well, am I going to run away from all of this or am I going to run to something that's possibly going to be better?
I love it. No, that's a great, that's a perfect perspective. Did you, Aisha? Are you frozen? And it looks like she's.
I think she is.
Yeah, I unmuted, but I can't get her unmuted, so she's frozen. That's okay. We'll get her back in a moment. So the concept then of, because I'm toggling back and forth between the lyrics because I have them here at the same time. I think one of the things about run and we're gonna let me go into the next phrase first. I had a question here: is what do you believe Bangtan will share as the answer for love, hate, and army? And so I actually, what do they mean as the answer for why they use that term? So I'm actually going to put that out to Army. So as we're at this moment, the source of the strongest love that they have at this moment, that's helping them probably to be able to survive when they're trying to, when they have to run, move, forward, backwards, or around, is the love they have without from us. But really, the strongest one is the love they have within themselves. That's the 7 of them, right?
Right. From each other.
From between each other. Yeah. But
Right.
see,
Because, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely thinking that the love and support and the understanding that they have from each other, only they can understand what they're going through.
Yep.
And that brings in, the other topics through some of it. I will bring up loneliness and alienation. They have each other through that journey, through the struggles. So the love they have from each other, that can also build, the love they have within themselves.
And that becomes that thing that we talked about in the last show, that's always shining from them.
Right.
Because it creates this aura, and it's a genuine aura of just this kindness. It's this glow of kindness. And I know people outside Army may not understand what we're saying, but however, why do people across the globe connect to these boys since 2015? 2015, they became a global sensation. Out of nowhere. No one expected it. How did it happen? It's because of what you're talking about right now, Tessa. It's that love that they had within themselves. We could see it. We could physically see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So I'm going to ask now. And I'm going to ask Army. I'm going to drop the question in here. So we wrote about when they wrote. I think Aisha had something written in here. Tessa, you wrote. When they wrote Born Singer, it represented a huge weight of oppression, naysaying, even anger that Big Hit and BTS weren't playing by the rules. And then you wrote something here?
Yeah, I think I talked about it a little bit. About their journey, as identifying as singers, identifying they are.
Sorry. Okay, yes.
You keep freezing, my love. I'm so sorry.
No, she put it on mute again. Yeah, the message that they wanted to be able to share. Oh, Daniel's on.
Daniel's on. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. About the constant state of becoming. I love that concept.
Right. And sorry, there were lyrics in there I was trying to understand, like the difference between, their early confession that they are born singers versus the late confession. They have that in there. Is that it's definitely speaks to the constant state of becoming. They were saying, okay, this might be early of us stating we're going to be successful, and then saying, no, we can do this. This is who we are. So you're growing and learning, and you're allowing that flexibility and that, change and growth.
Okay.
And what about this term, Nisha? Self-actualization.
Right.
You're getting to that point.
Yes, so self-actualization is actually the core of our research.
Right.
Because we talk about the 11 stages of self-actualization according to Maslow. So it's, you're right on par with us, Tessa. You're speaking my language, girl. It's exactly what it is. So I'm going to ask you this question, because this question then is exactly what you just said. So what does recognizing that they could have or could achieve success in spite of the hate and oppression mean in the journey of that self-actualization?
Right. I think we found, and I think someone had put something in there. It wasn't my responses there, but let me hear that question again.
It's okay. I'm actually going to pose it. And it was one of the bigger questions I had. We don't have to, because I'm going to actually ask it of Army. What does recognizing that they could have or could achieve success in spite of the hate and oppression mean to Bangtan in terms of self-actualization? It's a very big question. I think actually it's a research question for us, as a matter of fact, because if we can answer this and do it well, it will help a lot of people to understand that we can succeed in spite of hate and suppression. Right. And how is it that what is it the model that they've used? Regardless, the model that they used relied on self-love and love, and a bonded love, right? And an unconditional type of love. So we're going to go on to the next concept, which is called rules broken then changed, and where I said inspired in their commitment and angst to succeed. So what is the concept of rules broken then changed mean to you, Danielle? Because poor Aisha thing is frozen. I feel so bad. Terry, Danielle, what is the concept of rules broken? And because we talked about it yesterday, and then changed.
I think for them, like for me, when I think of rules broken and changed, like so many rules, not actual rules, but like the way and like the industry that they're in, that they kind of broke through. And how that because they broke those rules, they changed. Like one of the things we talked about earlier was them talking about their own struggle with, mental illness or, just mental health in general. And them talking about that was like before a rule of you don't speak about this. But they broke that. And now it's kind of changed. And now other people in the industry are like, hey, like I have the same thing. Let's talk about it. And I could spend all day talking about all the rules.
Yep. All right, we're going to see if Aisha can try and answer. She has a lot of lag. For some reason, something's going on technical side. Do you think you can try and answer? Otherwise, just type your answers and I'll read them for you. Not a problem. Lucky for us, we have a live chat feature between the
Yes, I am so.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
I hate seeing this, but yes.
Oh, I feel so bad. We had such a good connection the other day. I don't know what happened. Well, it's a part of having a global show. It's the connections can be a pain. So I don't think it's on my side this time. I think we're sustaining. So that's okay. It's okay. We'll find a way to have her on. I had written these 5 songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I said that what did we think that I Need You, Dope, Run, Walian, 52, Butterfly, and Nevermind. These 5 songs, which are part of the most beautiful moments in life, if you look at them, they're like they create like a narrative of sort. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I remember I asked this question, how at this point, like I was asking how onus of control means you taking control of your own narrative, of your own self, right? Or control of a situation. So at this point in 2014, late 14 to 15 and 16, they're now taking control of their narrative, which we read in the descriptor. So, what do you think that the most beautiful moments in life, then how does that represent their narrative? The hardest part of these shows is it makes everyone have to stop and think. Even though the question's been there for 2 days, they're really hard questions. I'm not easy on people, I tell you that.
Right. But then when you look at the songs that you sort of have listed in there, and each has such a strong message, but it can be so very different. When you look at Walian 52, that's such a strong message of the loneliness and him finding, his voice and everything in there. But this is something like Nevermind. That's definitely not, a matter of being afraid of putting anything out there. Yes, I see you have it there. That's your Nevermind. That is just as powerful in a very, very different way, So they're getting across their messages, in different ways, in different songs, but just very expressive and in a very strong and genuine, and a lot of times also vulnerable kind of way, which
I love the concept. The vulnerability concept is absolutely the truth. Absolutely. So, did anyone else want to talk about that? Because it was I Need You, Dope, Run, Walian, 52, Butterfly, and Nevermind.
Right.
And that they're very, very implemental, because to this day they're still singing those songs.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going on. We have a lot of binging. Poor Aisha got kicked off, so I think she's trying to get back on. We can just let her know. I feel that in my own perspective, those songs created a story. when you put them in the space, because I need you. Of course, it's like they're singing it to a girl, but that's not really what it is. In the long run, we know it's about I need me, I need you, and then I need the love that I can find on top of that. And it's okay, because I understand that pain, that love can come with a lot of pain.
Right.
And it is something that they had to teach themselves, that in loving the entertainment, that field that they were in, the world that they were in, and the people in that world, that they also had to deal with a lot of the backlash that came with it.
Absolutely.
They needed to understand what love was for them. And at the same time, they had to protect themselves.
Right.
So with Dope, they're going, Osoa, Bangtan Chomaji, you know, hey, you're the first time with us, because you know why? That is their emancipation. They are now Bangtan. Bangtan. That is, by the way, why I call them Bangtan. It's because of Dope.
It's like sort of them trying to present themselves again as their true self, you know?
That's it. Because it was their true does that make sense? Yeah. And even though they took on 7 personas, it really didn't matter, because every time they sang the song on a music stage, they had on a different character. So it didn't really matter what they were saying. I think they were telling us that between I Need You to Dope and then moving into Wailing and being very expressively aware of the loneliness that comes with what their choices were. There's loneliness in this choice I've made, where I am the whale and I am in the literal desert looking for someone to hear me, and having someone answer my call.
Right.
In that world now became not just them, it was all of us.
Absolutely.
Because being Army at that time, as I told you, was not always the easiest thing. It was not a kind time on a thing called Twitter.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a part of history you'll find out later, but it was a rough time. It was a rough time. So any thoughts from you guys as we move forward? Because we're coming up to the close, and I think we did pretty good, actually. Never mind, to this day, as you all know, if you had to choose between those 5 songs, it's 5, right? Did I put 5 or 6? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I put 6. If you had to choose between those 6, I took out Born Singer completely. Which song did you connect to the most out of the 6 of those? I Need You, Dope, Run, Wailing 52, and Butterfly.
And Never Mind. Yep. Never Mind.
How about everybody else?
I think for me it was Butterfly.
You too, Terry? You're muted. Hobie loved Butterfly. And we said that Butterfly, even though he has very little lines and Jen has almost nothing, first of all, there's 5 versions of that song. So you really need to go back and you need to listen to all the 5 versions of the song.
Okay.
Because there's an acoustic version that's all vocals. And they sang it in Busan, and I got to hear it live. Never thought in my life I would ever hear that song.
And the butterflies flying by.
Butterflies flying over my head.
So beautiful.
That's that one that pushed me over the edge for Butterfly.
It did. When I heard it on the sound check, I heard the sound check the 2 nights before, so I knew what was coming. I crumbled my first time. I crumbled. I literally did. I went down. I was like, never in my life. First, because I always get angsty that Jin's not hardly has any line in Butterfly at all, because it's a song made for his voice. But 2, because I wanted that version, and we never got that version anywhere, the acoustic version. And then we got it, and I was like, you have to hear it. It's just incredible. And there's 5 versions of it. Butterfly, huge connection, except I get angsty about Jin. I would say Never Mind, because it's literally sitting on my neck. But Never Mind, because Bultorome is not on this list, by the way, because that's a given. I mean, Bultorome is literally burning all of the rest of it to the ground. We're done. We don't need anything more now. So, I mean, do you guys see it the same way, or do you see Bultorome a little different?
think it's the same.
About the burning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you have to think about the fact that they were singing fire all the way until
Right.
last year. That is how important that song was.
Right.
And that's how connective it was. Out of all the songs that they sang regularly, Idol and Bultodame were the two songs that never left when they came back to us. That's and Spring Day. So whether or not we ever get, and the fact that we were able to get all of those at the Busan concert, it just tells you everything. So as we're closing, because we're getting, I knew this would be the longer conversation. We're going to talk about really quickly. We talked about the moment that comes once in a lifetime. And I think we did run already. What is the moment that comes once in a lifetime? References the most beautiful moments in the life trilogy, the epitome and iconic transition moments in their life as BTS that gave them the foundation, the platform, and the voice to tell the world who they were, they wanted to be, and who they could be. This BTS, this Bangtan. And we've been talking about that now, as we've discussed. Yet another story. What are you guys thinking that they're referencing in Yet Another Story? I think you said, Danielle, that you thought it was about the movement, and Joanna had said she thought it was about um, moving into the music phase, the music world, the world of awards, because 2015 is when they started to win things.
Right.
So Yet Another Story. What do you think that means for them? I mean, we're talking about 2015 and 16 now. Your thoughts?
I think one of my thoughts was this was kind of like the point, and correct me if I'm wrong, where they really started to win awards and also get fame, right? So it's kind of like the story before was they debuted and nobody even knew who they were, basically, and no one cared, right? And so Yet Another Story is like, all right, this is what we were before, but yet now this is who we are coming to be. And I think, I mean, who knows? But that's what it like kind of like is talking about. Yet another story, right? This there's a different side of the story, not just what you've seen up until now.
Do you think it's their story they're telling, or do you think it's our story they're telling at this point? Because weren't they telling somebody else? Remember how I said how Jim talked about the concept and how the concept was written to be someone else's story and not theirs? And from 2015, they were able to start telling their own story. I don't know if you realize that, but of course, the first 2 years of concept was not written by them, right? They had to just live it. Yeah, they had to completely live in someone else's persona.
Right.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. You know, this is where they're now taking on, that's where the onus of control is coming in, I think, for them to be able to write the narrative of their own story at this point. And let me tell you, the Save Me era, if you get a chance to go in and really deep dive into it, those short films, and then from there go into the BTS Universe film, because that's about an hour and 20 minutes. First of all, their acting is impeccable. Impeccable. Second of all, you'll cry. It's so emotionally sad, because they show you and represent what would have happened if they'd met each other under different circumstances. But regardless, they would have always found each other. That's what they said.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
It is. And when I saw that this is because they gave us an alternate universe where they all had completely 7 different lives, but somehow they all came together through music again. It just astounds me that they had the wherewithal to tell that story, much less to act, by the way, because the acting was pretty incredible. So I know that because I have a lot of it embedded in my brain. I say a lot of stuff, so sorry about that. Okay, so we're ready to close up right now. Any lasting thoughts? So chapter 3 is about Army. So I asked the question of you guys, and not everyone answered, but I want you to answer to me as we close. What did we do as Army, us, at that chapter 3 of time to uplift them? How did we keep them going when the world they lived in was dark and unforgiving? What did what role did we play in that story? Terry?
Well, I would say we push them more like through album sales and stuff because that's the only way that they would have a noticeable something from us. And because
You're
didn't
talking about
they won it like they had a big win at Music Bank, and Fire was just huge. I mean, that became like their battle cry almost. It's people waited for them to come on the stage, and it's like they'd be you could just feel the tension until they like start. The minute that started, people would just go nuts. So I think the fact, and they're always saying how they love feedback. So I think that probably did a lot to help them because the louder we yell, the more they like it.
the fan chants. The fan
Yeah.
chants were incredible.
Mhm.
Okay, so we were driving energy,
Mm.
a very strong energy,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And then we were driving merch sales because someone actually wrote that about merch, and
Yeah.
we were actually my paper is about the global marketization of BTS Army and how massive we are as a driving force in changing the global market for fandoms. So that's one of the papers that I wrote last year, and we are there's no one we're second to none. There's no one like us. I don't think that will be reproducible. Anyone else? How do you think we are a mitigating or a driving force in them being able to change that narrative?
I think one of the things, and we've talked about this before, is that just the relationship that they have with us as Army. So it's a very like accepting and exchanging, right? Like we know that no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, we'll love them. And I think that was kind of about the time when Army really started showing that
Mm-hmm.
to them. And they really, like, that's when they started having a true fan base, right? Of like, you had those that were committed from the beginning, but this is when they're picking up steam, and people were saying, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we will love you, we will accept you, we will be there for you. And I think that was kind of not only driving energy, like with merch sales, but also just in support in general, like emotional, if that makes any sense. Like there is like this, I don't say emotional tie, but it really feels that way between us and them. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that was kind of one of those things that I think was proven, that was established kind of in that point of we'll always be here for you, we'll always support you.
Yes, yes. I'm thinking about that now. It's actually kind of going through my head. Um, I would, if Aisha was here, I would talk about how the impetus and the massive growth of digital content from Army that grew from 2014 on, where they were seeing us responding to them, because 2015 is where we got Run BTS. Don't forget that. That is where they took over and they said no more Rookie King, because Rookie King was ridiculous, absolutely a ridiculous travesty that had a lot. Let me take that back. Let me take it back. Let me take it back before I get killed. Um, there were cultural mores and cultural reasons for why that show had to be what it was. Big Hit made a lot of concerted choices to give them marketability through things like variety shows, etc. When they first started, that helped them to be seen in mainstream Korea, but they weren't as musically known in Korea, where they became a global phenomenon as a music group before they became a phenomenon in their own country. And we know that. They didn't massively become a hit in their own country in like till 2017 or something, is where it really started to pick up. Aw, thank you, Aisha. Poor thing. I'm so sorry. I told her to try for the last show. So then as we move forward then, I think so that last question, did you want to answer? How did we keep them going in a world where everything could have been dark? because they tell us all the time. If it wasn't for us, it would have been different. No one likes to answer questions. Come on.
That's because Terry and Daniel did such a good job saying all of it already, you know. When you think about it, you know, as such a new baby army, but
I know.
especially now with the phase 2 sort of thing, you know, and you know, just really supporting them as they come out as solas. And I see a lot about, you know, supporting each member, no one is better than the other, or that sort of thing, you know, and knowing that they'd come back together as the 7. And even in all of their work, as you said, they still reference the whole group. They reference the 7. They reference each other, missing each other, looking forward, you know, moving forward in the future till they can all get back together. It's supporting them. What I can think of for myself now and in this phase is supporting them as they go sort of their own solo, you know, experience and journey, knowing that they'll come together again, and we have the whole group, and we have that all of them back together again, which will be a beautiful day and a beautiful time.
It will be a beautiful day. And here it is. Like she said, we will grow older together. Yoongi said there he's going to be 80 and he's going to be using a cane and walking across the stage, and he'll be singing it.
A true grandpa.
A true grandpa. I just cannot wait to see Bangtan Village manifest. You know, with their kids running around and their grandkids or whatever they choose to have. That's, you know, and all the good stuff. I just think it'll be. They're a microcosm of what can be what the possibility of good is, of kind, of peace and calm, but like this absolute state of, like you said, actualizing, becoming a state of being. And you know, we just watched in the 10 years. I think it's crazy because it's just hit me, Tessa. They went through the 11 stages of self-actualization in these 12 years. They went through all of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I can actually, if I put it into perspective, they've done it. They've gone through all of it. And now they're on to the next chapter. It's, you know, that's a never ending thing, right? We're always actualizing it.
Yeah.
It never ends. So
Yeah.
that is such, you know, I get these epiphanies while I sit here. That's the best part of the show. Okay, my loves, we are actually done with this show, and then we're not back on till 11 o'clock. We did really good, actually. I think we stayed, I'm surprised we stayed in track. There was a lot more to talk about. If you, we didn't actually cover all of the concepts, but I think we did good. This is why we prepare ahead, because we know. We were supposed to ask ourselves the time travel question. As Army, you can go back in time or go forward to the future. What would you choose and why? Like the BTS members, what would you tell your past or present self? I'm going to post it in here, and we're going to open it up for Army because the question doesn't last live once we do the comment. You don't have to answer, but would any of you want to answer the time travel question? Wow.
I think I'll take. I love why I love Yoongi's D-Day. With the future is gonna be okay. You know, I would take the opportunity probably to go back to the past and speak to my younger self and give that assurance as well too. But that's how I would approach that. And I think Yoongi just perfectly was able to express that in the song, and with his own growth and his own story and his own, it's amazing. And I'd love to be able to be at that point as well too, to really believe that and to, you know, go back if I had a chance to.
I love that. I love that. Anyone else?
Have faith and don't be afraid.
That's what you'd go back and tell yourself?
Yep.
I always think of Jimin's quote, "You guys keep going." Like that's what I always think of.
Which one?
You like Jimin's quote.
I didn't hear it because I cut out. Sorry.
Keep going. That's like, you know, one of my favorite quotes from him, just of, you know, keep going. Like, and that's one of the things that was, I think it was hard for me, like personally, and like one of the things I learned, like you do have a reason to keep going even if you don't see it.
This was one of my favorites, and we talked about it at the last episode because at the chapter 6, because this was from the paper that was written during the time. I think if I had to go back and talk to myself, because Terry knows that I oftentimes look back at with regret. Regret is something I've worked very, very, very hard not to have, because regret is not something that helps you move forward. Regret is not something that lets you put things in perspective and put it past you. And so Jungi talked about living in regret for a long time and letting his anger hold him down. And when he had the conversation with Jin in the soup, the first one, Jin said, but you need to not live in the regret. The regret doesn't have any purpose in your life because you've already achieved so much. What you're letting the regret do is overshadow all of the achievements that you've made in your life. Mm-hmm. And Jin said that in 2015, it was the story he had to tell himself. Bultorome was his burning down. I will never forget it. That is where he burned away his self-doubt and his tether to not being good enough. That doesn't mean that it all went away, right? Because he spoke about it a number of times, but that is where he said, I'm going to choose my happiness. I will live in happiness. And that is where everyone realized, wow, Jin Young's concept of living in happiness actually, and in this day, is actually the right concept. That is why everyone started to say, okay, I see what you're saying. That doesn't mean that they all started to do the same thing, right? They all went through massive struggles. I think COVID really put them into a space where they had to face it. They had to face it head on again. About what does it mean to be able to find happiness. Jimin went through severe depression. So going back in time, it would be about saying, don't let regret be something that weighs you down, because it's not something that's in your control. If it was something you could have controlled, then maybe you won't be regretting it, right? So don't let regret be something that weighs you down. What you couldn't do, you couldn't do. What you weren't able to do, you weren't able to do. What you weren't able to fix or complete, it's okay, because you have another day to do it. That's it. That's what I would say. I would love to go back and tell myself, you're going to succeed. Just allow yourself to succeed. That's the other one. You're going to succeed. Just allow yourself to do it. Because the problem we always have is we hold ourselves back from succeeding. Because regret does that to you. It holds on to you. So, no, that was a great conversation. We did so good. We did so good. Aw. Okay, share this. Okay, look at who love you, and then you will be stronger and move forward. I 100% agree. I think we have a panel of people here who had gone through a lot of trauma, including myself, and where we've had to really be able to find a statement of self-love and self-worth, and not letting the tethers hold on to you as you try and move forward in your path. So I love Suchita. Suchita is Jungi going, look at how much I've learned.
I love it.
He's like, look what I've learned, and let me share it with you. I adore it so much. So, and D-Day is everything. That's why our show is called The Higam. Our podcast is called The Higam, Uplifting the Band. So, all right, my loves, we are going to drop the really quickly the testimonial link real quick for anybody who grabs onto that. If you have a few moments to fill this out, that would be fantastic. And for our year-long project, as we move forward in creating this collage of a manifesto of love for BTS and ARMY through our statements of how Bangtan has helped us to heal over the 10-year journey. And we will be back to you at 11 o'clock. And you can find us on all of our socials, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We even have we have Twitch, all kinds of things. Not that I share them all the time. Love you guys at Apubangpo, and we'll see you at 11 o'clock for our last show and we will have the book in hand at that point.
Yay!
Okay, bye.
Bye.